Welcome into the Locked On Knicks podcast. The New York Knicks just barely escaped the Charlotte Hornets. More struggles for Mikal Bridges. We get into it all now on Locked On Knicks.
You are Locked On Knicks, your daily New York Knicks podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hey, what's up, guys? You are Locked On Knicks, your daily New York Knicks podcast. Not the best effort the afternoon after Thanksgiving for the New York Knicks. We're going to talk about Mikal Bridges' continued struggles, Jalen Brunson's late heroics, how this just is not a great basketball team right now. Some more inconsistency from Karl-Anthony Towns and a whole lot more. But before we get into all that, I wanted to remind you that you can start the season with a big return on FanDuel. New customers can place a $5 bet and you get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. I also wanted to remind you your favorite podcast now has a newsletter introducing the Locked On Knicks daily newsletter, one stop for ultimate team and league coverage delivered right to your inbox. Sign up for free now at LockedOnDaily.com to see some writing Monday through Friday from myself, Alex Wolf, our team of national writers, including Katie Heindel here at Locked On, and Josh Lloyd. That's LockedOnDaily.com, and start your day with the all-new free Locked On Knicks newsletter. But who's talking to you? I am Gavin Schall. I am your Saturday host. So if you want to tune in tonight of the Locked On NBA podcast, I'm also a credentialed media member. And as Alex Wolf would put it, your favorite play-by-play broadcaster's favorite play-by-play broadcaster. Please subscribe to the podcast and hit that notifications bell to ensure you didn't miss an episode. The question of the day in the comments today, where are you on this team? And maybe a separate rating for Mikal Bridges on the concern scale. Give it a 1 through 10 rating, 10 being most concerned, 1 being least concerned. I would say for the team, about maybe 6 or 7. That might be a little high, but that's where I am today. Mikal Bridges, I'm at more like an 8 right now. And that's maybe not an 8 in terms of like how I think this is ultimately going to end. I think he is just too good of a player with too long of a track record, playing with his best friends to not eventually figure this out. Like I've seen this guy play great basketball. I've watched it for years as someone who is a Suns fan in addition to a Knicks fan. I've seen bunch of Nets games over the years where he's been incredible. I watched him play for Team USA where alongside Anthony Edwards, he was probably the team's best player. It wasn't Jalen Brunson. It was not really Josh Hart. It was by and large Mikal Bridges shining on the international stage. But he is not in a good place right now. He did not finish the final 7.5 or 8 minutes in what was a shockingly close 99-98 victory for the New York Knicks against a Charlotte Hornets team that is not great, right? They came into this game 6-12 on the year and was missing arguably 5 of their 6 best players. No LaMelo Ball, no Miles Bridges, no Trey Mann, who's been Allen Iverson light for them this season, both in appearance and in his play. And missing both their centers in Mark Williams and Nick Richards, right? So this is a bad team without the bulk of their talent. They're well coached. They're scrappy. They're more competitive than they've been in years past. You can throw all that out there, but this is a New York Knicks team that I know I've said this a bunch, so maybe you're tired of hearing it, but last season started 20-1. I think it was initially like 17-0 against teams under 500. Just kick butt against teams under 500 and had a metronomic consistency thanks to their depth, thanks to their defense. And that is out the window this year. It is pretty clear that at least right now, maybe a switch flips later in the season as the year goes along and the Knicks start rolling against bad competition. That is not the case at the moment. And Mikal Bridges is a big reason why, because he is not only not performing like the borderline all-star we all expected to get, and certainly the star role player, arguably just flat out the best role player in basketball, along with Mikal Bridges, or along with OG Anunoby and former Nick Isaiah Hartenstein. He's just been bad, and this was the nadir of him being bad so far this season. 37 minutes, 3 for 10 from the field, 1 for 4 from 3, 8 points, 2 rebounds, 2 assists. Continues to be utterly afraid to shoot at the rim. But before we get into that, I want to bring up Josh Hart's post-game defense of Mikal Bridges and just kind of talk through it point by point. So here's what Hart had to say. I know he's not worried about it. I'm not worried about him. The media and people are killing him. I guess that's me. New situation, 18 games? All the BS about what we gave up means nothing. If we win a championship, ain't nobody give a damn how many picks we gave up. We could have given up 15 picks. It doesn't matter. At the end of the day, we're trying to win a championship. He's going to be a key piece of that, and we need to continue to build him up. If you go out there and nitpick everything he does, that's only a detriment to him. All right, so let me address this first part. The picks, I've talked about this. I've gotten comments on it. The picks do matter, right? They don't matter in the sense of a sunk cost fallacy, in the sense that they're out, and I understand the notion that bringing them up is counterproductive. They matter in the sense that the Knicks mortgage their entire future for this guy. And because of that, here's the future impact, not just complaining about the past. They do not have a pivot going forward because they gave up first-round picks for Mikal Bridges, right? So the Knicks, in making this trade, they placed a bet on Mikal Bridges that they did not place on Jalen Brunson. They did not even place on Karl Anthony Towns in terms of like the value going out for him. Similar bet to what they made on OG Anunoby. Certainly bet a lot less on Josh Hart when they went and traded for him. This was the ultimate show of faith from this front office that has rarely missed since taking over the New York Knicks. And so far, again, that's not to say that it's going to be going forward or it's a terrible trade or the Knicks are forever screwed. But so far, it has very clearly been a miss. And the Knicks, again, because of that pick outlay, do not have an easy and obvious pivot that can turn out in an advantageous way for them, which is what they've done in the past. A few times they've made bad moves, right? Cam Reddish doesn't really work out. Great, we're going to throw a first-round pick on him and turn him into Josh Hart, right? This front office, when they've made mistakes, they have corrected them. They have made the U-turn, and they have set the Knicks on the right path. They are going to struggle to do that with Mikal Bridges if this continues because those picks are out the window. Then Josh Hart saying, fans and media commenting on is only a detriment to him. You know what? You get paid $20+ million a year to play basketball. You have to deal with that. And I know some people get paid a lot more and have to deal with a lot less. I'm not saying anyone should be attacking Mikal Bridges, the person, which is 100% happening on social media. He is a fantastic human being from everything I've ever heard about him. Seems like a great dude. I'm sure he's trying his best. I don't think this is about effort. I think he is very, very, very much in his own head right now. That being said, sorry, it's the media's job to comment and analyze on what is happening on the court. And what is happening on the court is a disaster. It is nothing short of a disaster for Mikal Bridges right now, given the value he has on this team. All right, let's keep going with this. It's only a detriment to him. We're all gonna have a conversation with that. We got to get him going. That's when we'll get the best version of Kale. It's 18 games. He's a hell of a player. He's been to the finals. He knows how to win. I agree with all that. So we can calm down with all the criticism and nitpicking a guy who's won every time he stepped on the court in any situation. A lot of people can't do what he does. All true, and all the reasons why the critiques are valid right now, because he is not playing winning basketball for the New York Knicks. He is utterly afraid to take a layup at the moment. He doesn't want to shoot around the basket. Coming into this one, it was 7 straight games without a free throw. It was 11 of his last 12 games without a free throw. Well, guess what? He got 2 today. He went 1 for 2 because he got an offensive rebound. Someone hit his hand and he missed a buddy. You see the body language on him right now. It is a guy that is mentally broken on the court. He looks like he has never been a ball handler in the NBA before. When I know for a fact he was the primary ball handler on a team that was not very good, but also was not like awful over 100 game sample size, 110 game sample size on the Brooklyn Nets. He was their number one option every single night. He was handling the ball. He was attacking defenses. He was hitting pull-up threes. He was getting to the rim. You can go back and watch the games. I'm not making it up. It all happened. And he gets the ball on the arc, and he looks uncomfortable dribbling. He just kind of meanders in a semicircle and then tries to give the ball away. And it was not only on him. It was on Brunson. It was on Towns. But it was a big part of the reason this team only scored 15 points in the first quarter of this one, only had 7 points through the first half of the first quarter against the Charlotte freaking Hornets, missing their entire team. Against the Greensboro Swarm, as I saw some people put it on Twitter. He does not want to handle the ball around the rim. Now let's look at him at the rim. Had a nice baseline drive, blew the layup. Should not miss that layup, even with Diabate in the area. Honestly, I was happy he just got all the way to the basket. Two of the worst plays I've seen from him so far this season. Skipping a transition layup when it was Tijan Salon and Velisi, I think it's Velisi Micic at the rim. Salon, big dude, should not be an intimidating rim protector at this point. Micic is maybe the single least intimidating rim protector in the NBA, as like a guy who looks like in his mid-40s and someone you would see smoking outside of a bar in Milan when you're on vacation. Mikal freaking Bridges should be dunking the ball in that situation. At the very least, he should be laying it in. Very worst case scenario, he should be getting fouled in that situation. Second half, let me find the play. He had another play where he just throws the ball away because he picks up his dribble, does not want to go one-on-one with Micic for some reason, a guy he should get 30 points on. If they're going to put Micic on him, should be firing turn-down jumpers, should be Euro-stepping his way to the rim. Like that should be barbecue chicken for Mikal Bridges. It's not. He picks up the ball, doesn't want to go at him, doesn't see a cutter, panics, throws the ball away. To end the half, Josh Green makes a great play, coast to coast, hits a short jumper, 1 second on the clock. Mikal Bridges, a couple different spots to throw the ball. You are probably not going to score the basket with a second left and you're on your own baseline. Just launch it down the court if you have to. Make sure you get it in. Instead, panics late, tries to throw it to OG. Green steps in front of it, turnaround jumper. That was a low point in a game with a lot of them. Had a nice play. Hit an off the dribble three. That was great. Next two threes, wide open in the wing in transition. Clank. Wide open in the corner off a nice dump off from Brunson. Clank. Has a cut to the rim. Jalen Brunson hits him, fumbles the ball, chucks it to Deuce. Deuce misses a three. He's now, this is from KFS, 20 of 60 from the field in his last 4 games, 8 for 29 from 3. It is not a fun time right now for Mikal Bridges. Again, for all of you in the comments who I've seen them who are going to say I'm being too negative, who are going to say give him a chance, who are going to say, hey, we did not pay him for now. We paid him for April, May, June. Totally agree with all that. I remain, despite all this and despite my venting here, I remain confident that he's going to figure it out. I wonder if it would benefit him and benefit the Knicks for Tom Thibodeau to, start Deuce for now. I've speculated going on the hot hand theory this week. It wouldn't be the worst thing in the world to give him a week off, let him go to Hawaii, get his mind right, or stay in New York, shoot 1,000 shots a day, like whatever he needs to do to get his mind right. Because again, this is a mental issue right now for Mikal Bridges. Like unless there's something really weird going on medically, like he looks fine physically, but it's offensively, it's defensively. He is Micic crossing him up to get to the rim. I'm sorry, I'm really picking on Micic today. I'm sure he's a great guy. He has Nick Smith bullying him to the rim. Like it is both ends of the floor. He is not the guy he has been the first 7 years of his career. We've watched this with Julius Randle and we watched him bounce back, right? Just because it's happening right now does not mean it's forever. It does not mean he cannot figure it out. It does not mean the trade permanently sucks. It just means right now this is really not going well for Mikal Bridges. All right, we're going to come back with some positives. There were some positives in this one. We'll talk about that next here on Locked On Knicks. But first, we want to tell you about some of our newest friends here at Locked On Knicks over at Skylight Frame. So I have to say, this is flat out one of the coolest products since I've started doing Locked On Knicks. We've gotten the opportunity to talk about. So if you're like me, you sometimes struggle to find the perfect gift during the holidays. And maybe gift giving just isn't your love language. Definitely me. I'm not good at it. You overthink it and you wind up with something disappointing or nothing at all. Are you buying or for someone who is everything and just seems kind of unpleasable? Sometimes it might be your mother-in-law. Are you tired of wasting money on useless clutter that no one really needs? Well, here's what you got to do. We've got the perfect gift for you. Skylight Frames is the touchscreen digital photo frame your entire family will love. You can upload thousands of photos with your phone and watch them appear in seconds. It takes less than 60 seconds to set up. Seamless sharing means you invite friends and families to easily share photos via the free Skylight mobile app or email, and there's no account or subscription required. The touchscreen is a total game changer. You can swipe through photos, tap to see new photos sent, tap the heart button to say thank you to the sender. And satisfaction is guaranteed. We're so confident that you'll love Skylight. We offer free 120-day returns. And now a special limited time offer for our listeners. Get $20 off your purchase of a Skylight frame when you go to skylightframes.com/NBA. That's SKYLIGHTFRAME.com/NBA. Get $20 off your purchase now at skylightframe.com/NBA. Get $20 off at skylightframe.com/NBA. All right, guys, we are back on Locked On Knicks. So despite everything I just said about Mikal Bridges, despite the ultra negative start to this pod, the New York Knicks were in fact able to win this basketball game 99-98 over the Charlotte Hornets. Despite just a terrible start offensively, the Hornets learned the lesson that every team in the NBA should learn against the New York Knicks going forward. You should switch early, you should switch often, and it gummed up the gears. Is that the phrase? I don't know. I'm bad with phrases. Early for the Knicks offense, zero rhythm. Again, very similar to the Mavs game, like no conviction, sleepwalking a little bit post-Thanksgiving, took the Hornets incredibly lightly. And that is the danger when you play a team missing five of their top 6, 5 of their top 7 players. Like, they're going to come out extremely fired up because this is a golden opportunity for a bunch of guys who are incredibly hungry to stake a claim in the NBA and say, whether it's on this team or another team, I want to be in this league for 10 years. I want to get my money. I want to create generational wealth for my family. Like, the other side is going to be extremely hungry. And again, not scrubs. If you're in the NBA, you're generally, with a couple of maybe some former Knicks as exceptions. I'm looking at you, Ron Baker and Emmanuel Mudiay now. Those guys are good players. Generally, you're not a scrub if you are in the NBA. And instead, the Knicks had 2 early shot clock violations. Cat was a disaster early in this one. Multiple bad offensive fouls. The Knicks were extremely turnover prone. They had 8 or 9 turnovers in the first 13 minutes of the game. They were missing open shots. OG Anunoby continues to be very cold. Going back to Dallas, he has now missed. He's 0 for 12 on his last 12 threes. There was a catch shove on a screen that was particularly bad. I mentioned Mikal throwing it away in transition, just a disaster of a start. And like early on, particularly like the Knicks don't have any rhythm when it's just like, hey, we got our switch. I'm Jalen Brunson. I'm going to attack it. I'm Karl-Anthony Towns. I'm going to attack it. And if those guys aren't red hot, like, your offense is just not going to look really good. Last season, they could survive games where Jalen did that, where teams switched and Jalen picked on it, because you would get the switch with someone like Isaiah Hartenstein, and him and Josh Hart and the rest of this team was able to go and attack the offensive glass, and you could play bully ball at that point, because it was not a one-man bully ball. It was a team-wide bully ball with the way this team offensive rebounded. Now you play bully ball, you commit a bunch of turnovers, you are not winning the possession battle anymore. And Charlotte, with some hot shooting, with some good bounces, with a slightly favorable whistle, was able to stay in this game early and able to stay in this game often, because the Knicks, like, outside of Jalen Brunson, who was pretty consistent throughout on both ends of the floor, did not really have anything going. But the Knicks did just enough to pull away late. It mostly came from Brunson's playmaking, but a couple of key plays from Karl-Anthony Towns, who I will get into him a little bit more next segment. But he had a great defensive play. Like, he has flashed some like really quality hands defensively. Honestly, like, for all my complaints about him on defense, that is the one area he has excelled. Like, whether it is like playing passing lanes, whether it is poking it away or stripping an opposing big or guard at the rim. And in this case, Diabate had the ball. Cat got just a little bit of it to poke it away. Diabate was trying to get it back. Deuce, who was excellent in this one, super aggressive, got to the ball, coast to coast for a dunk, put the Knicks up 86-85. A lead I believe they never conceded down the stretch. You had a big 3 from Hart in the corner. You had a big 3 from Cat on the left wing. And then Jalen Brunson, like, in the final 4.5 minutes, hit an elbow pull-up jumper, another blow-by, I believe, on Josh Green through traffic, finished at the rim. Really nice lefty finish when he was having some issues finishing earlier. Nasty in and out on Josh Green, who earlier in the game, Brunson just absolutely dropped on a crossover, and Green got away with a BS foul. Probably, maybe could have been a flagrant. I don't know. Got into the lane, floater over Diabate up and in. Some issues with free throws late. That's been a weird thing for Jalen Brunson since he's been on the Knicks. Like just him and Josh Hart both miss a lot of clutch free throws. So Jalen, when he got fouled from 3, went 2 for 3. Got fouled on another one. Went 1 for 2 late, and then 2 for 2 at the end of the game to clinch the win before I'm sure all of you saw it, the Josh Green toilet bowl 3 that somehow took 4 seconds to go and denied the Hornets a chance to foul and have one more chance at the horn to potentially win this game. But I say all that to say, somehow without saying it, that this was just an excellent game for Jalen Brunson. Like the one Nick, actually, you know what? I'd say 1 of 3 Knicks. I think Josh Hart was really good in this one. I think Deuce McBride was really good in this one. But Jalen was the best. Just a fantastic two-way performance did what you're supposed to do against a depleted Charlotte Hornets team. 9 for 18 from the field, 4 for 6 from 3, 9 for 12 from the charity stripe, 31 points. 6 rebounds, 6 assists. I thought his defense really stood out. He was excellent. Stripping KJ Simpson on one play, hounding him into what would have been a shot clock violation if he didn't force the steal. One play, the Knicks had a switch and OG was kind of pinned under the rim. Or no, it was Mikal was pinned under the rim on Diabate. Brunson recognized it, went flying in to tip the rebound away from Diabate. When the Knicks had possession, he was hustling to save the ball, going out of bounds. He was kind of the one guy who maybe after a drop of a slow start, some of the tryptophan still holding him back. I thought he was really, really good in this one. Hart was good. Deuce was good. Cat had some bad moments and some good moments. We will touch on that next to wrap up this edition of the Locked On Knicks podcast. But first, I wanted to tell you about some of our oldest friends here at Locked On over at FanDuel. Get ready to tackle the NFL action. Hey, it's tomorrow. You never get to do a Saturday episode and say it's tomorrow. With FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Because right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, I know I'm going to get that. You get that itch mid-game where you're like, oh, I'm liking this trend. I want to go with it. All you have to do on FanDuel is check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. To place a bet in the middle of the game, just visit FanDuel.com to join today. Again, you get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. So I don't know why you wouldn't put that first $5 down. That is some real upside on FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. All right, I see some of the comments piling up. I will run through those real quick. Before the end of the show, before we go negative, I want to shout out Josh Hart and I want to shout out Deuce McBride. I thought Hart was the one Nick who came out with the requisite intensity, what you want after not an awful performance, but I'm going to say a bad one against the Dallas Mavericks across the board. And Josh came out and just competed from the first second of this game. 4 offensive rebounds, kind of a vintage performance in that sense. 13 points, 12 total rebounds, 5 assists, 2 steals. Really good going coast to coast like he always is. Had a really nice cut to the rim late. Towns hit him on a no-look for a layup to make it 94-88. That was kind of the cushion the Knicks needed to survive a little bit of chicanery down the stretch of this one. I mentioned the big corner 3 hit. I mentioned the layups. It was just a nice all-around game for Josh. And Deuce McBride, welcome back. Him and Campaign developing a really nice chemistry at this point. 14 points, 5 rebounds, and an assist. Campaign also solid. Only got 11 minutes in this one. 6 points, 3 rebounds, had another 3. Wiped it off the board because Cat set an illegal screen, but he just continues to shoot the crap out of the basketball. Him and Deuce showed some really nice, just two-man chemistry in this one with Payne setting up Deuce early on a drive and kick 3. Deuce returning the favor to set him up on a 30-footer after really smart play where Towns was rolling to the rim. He faked the lob. That drew Diabate, who switched onto Cam, his eyes away, kicked it out to Cam. Cam drained the deep 3. Deuce just some great shot making. When he gets that high arcing 3 going, he looks like I called Brunson Hobbit LeBron a few weeks ago. I called Deuce Hobbit KD. Just the ability to rise and fire. I mentioned that transition dunk. I think it's pretty obvious the Knicks would be a better team starting Deuce McBride for Mikal Bridges right now. Like, I don't know what the case is for Mikal. Deuce is just a better point of attack defender. He is a much better shooter right now. I don't really know what Mikal's giving you that Deuce couldn't give you. I understand the optics of that. I understand Tom Thibodeau maybe not wanting to ruin Mikal Bridges' confidence. I do wonder if maybe 4 more games like this from Bridges and we're heading that way. It is something to watch going forward. Towns, I'll just hit quickly before we run too long here. 19 points, 12 boards, 5 assists. Another game where he was in a ton of foul trouble throughout with 3 offensive fouls. I mentioned like one of those games where you get the full like Karl Anthony Towns roller coaster experience. I thought the Knicks were really going to lean on him this game. I thought rather than playing through Brunson, this was a game to like let Towns go to work. Everyone remembers a year ago dropping 62 on Charlotte. The counterpoint to that would be that the Minnesota Timberwolves lost that game. So that is sometimes the downside of letting Karl Anthony Towns cook. Like you don't always get commensurate value with the price tag of the points he's putting up. I thought I thought his defense was a little bit of a mixed bag, but I thought it was mostly pretty good. I mentioned the script late, like had another play where he got back in transition to deny Simpson a transition layup, had a play in the, I think, late third, early fourth, where he like had great help on a Brandon Miller drive. OG Anunoby slowed him up and then Cat rotated over to swat it. Like I thought his defense was mostly good. Just some bad stuff earlier. I noticed like he's taken like a lot of tough threes. And I think I said earlier on in the year, like, I don't think he can take a bad 3. He's proving me wrong. He's taking some early shot clock, 3 or 4 feet behind the line, contested. And I just think they're, especially against like a bad defense, there are better shots to go and get. Had some nice passing, hit Hart twice for backdoor cuts, had a really nasty like putback layup on a Jalen Brunson miss. Still want to see him jump stop around the rim, times where he's going too fast. And even times like he'll make a layup, but he's going so fast, he takes himself out of the play. Charlotte can push the other way. They got an open 3 off it, ultimately missed it. Again, like just dumb plays on some like two fouls on screens, both of which were pretty blatant, like no real argument the other way. He could be better. He should be better. He was not obviously the biggest offender in this one. And then OG Anunoby, fantastic defense on Brandon Miller. I mostly talk about Tom Thibodeau, and I think he did something bad. I'm going to say he did something great. It's mostly been Mikal Bridges getting the tough matchup. You've only seen Tibbs pivot off that when it's a star wing on the other end. And I think on a night where Charlotte did not have another obvious shot creator to threaten you, makes all the sense in the world to just try to turn the water off on like the guy who was going to take a million shots. And it worked against Brandon Miller, 7 of 25. That's 28% from the field, just 2 for 11 from 3. OG had 3 blocks on him, I think, in the first quarter. Let me see. They credit him with 2 blocks in the game. So maybe 2 blocks and 1 where he altered the shot. But I thought particularly early, like OG set him up to just have a terrible night. If you were going to build a defender in a lab to slow down someone as long and as skilled as Brandon Miller, you would probably build OG Anunoby. The missed threes, I'm not concerned about. Like maybe he was due. I think I said in the episode where we were singing his praises, he was due to come back to earth a little bit on wing threes. Looks like, I don't know if he's injured because he's moving pretty well defensively, but kind of similar to the preseason where like he's a little like he's not getting his full pop around the rim, blocked twice at the basket, which you just don't see happen to him a whole lot. So I'm going to be watching that going forward. And then, it would be nice if Tom Thibodeau played Pacom Dadier. I think it was just announced today that he is heading to Westchester, so maybe a sign Precious Achiuwa is going to come back. Again, like if you can't play him against this Hornets team, why were you playing him before? If you're going to play Jericho Sims 8 minutes, and he posted for all my Mark Titus fans out there, a near 8 trillion. He was like the only category he did not put up a goose egg in was his net rating, which was -1. So essentially a totally neutral impact for Jericho Sims. Would have been a nice game to see. Samari Al-Hukporti would have been a nice game. I don't know. Throw Matt Ryan out there, see if he can give you some threes on a night where Anunoby played 40 minutes, Towns played 39, Hart played 41. Bridges, if he wasn't terrible, probably would have played 44, 43 because he played 37 before sitting essentially the whole fourth quarter. Yeah, a little frustrated with Tom Thibodeau on that front. And I think, again, Pacom Dadier has shown he can hold his own. I think someone like Tyler Kolek, if you want to give him a few minutes, can hold his own. You want to give Campaign, who's been one of your best players, more than 11 minutes. It would be nice if Tom Thibodeau went away from the starters when they're not playing that well. Couple nice comments before we wrap up. Nostalgic Nick says, Gavin, what's up, Nostalgic Nick? Appreciate you tuning in. Capo _1291. Let's go Knicks. Let's go Knicks. Big Neff Network. Salute to you, Big Neff Network. No Mello equal y'all got lucky. Yeah, we did. Might have lost with the Mello ball, or he might have shot them out of the game. Who knows? Pops one. I feel like Tibbs is overplaying OG and Mikal. I totally agree with that. All right, that is a good note to end on. Thank you so much for tuning in to this edition on a Saturday afternoon of Locked On Knicks. I hope you guys enjoyed the remaining day and a half of your holiday weekend. We will be back with you Monday morning with my good buddy Ariel Pacheco to discuss the Knicks Sunday game. Until then, against who do they play? They play the Magic Tuesday. I don't know who they're playing tomorrow. I'm a little turned around with all the holiday. They play the Pelicans tomorrow. They should win that. All right, with DeJounte Murray back. So that'll be a fun game. But until then, we'll talk to you soon on Locked On Knicks.